Here's another video where I share some of my mixed media techniques. I like to start with a loose painting in watercolor, ink, or acrylic paint. After the paintings dry, I draw on them with acrylic paint markers. Well, I hope you'll enjoy watching this process, and if you do, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'm using watercolor paper and acrylic paint markers from Hippie Crafter. So I have my paper taped down so it doesn't wiggle around, and I'm starting with clean water in a big brush. I'm starting with liquid watercolor, and using the same big brush, I'm going to put the watercolor just where the water is and just let it flow. This time I wet the whole page. I was trying to get the paper to not ripple as much, but it still rippled a little. But for this technique, I really liked how the markings dried. So here, when I'm putting this watercolor on, you can see it's repelling in some areas. And I actually think that's from my own hands, because I put hand lotion on before I started filming. So it's kind of interesting. So once again, I'm just doing this wet on wet technique. This is sped up, but you can see how the colors move into each other and you get these really interesting blooms. Then I'm going to add salt into the wet paint. So you need your watercolor or ink to be very watery, and when you add the salt, as it dries, the salt grabs the water and it ends up drying speckled looking. And then some areas, these dark areas, I added a lot of salt and it didn't dry in the speckled, it just looked crystallized. It looks really cool. Not so easy to draw on, but you'll see what I do with this one. There's that weird resist happening again, which, like I said, I think was from my fingerprints. It would be interesting and fun to play with that, putting areas on there that would act as a resist. Sometimes I do that with a wax candle, so maybe that's for another video. Here I laid some river rocks in the wet paint, and you leave them there until the paint is completely dry before you pick them up. It looks really pretty like this, and it's because these rocks I've used for other projects, like spray painting. So I do have a video where I show you that. Okay, so the first one I picked up, there was still wet paint under it. So later I put it back and let it continue drying, because what I'm trying to get here is a slightly lighter color under the rock. The water goes to the edges of the rock and dries darker there. So it just makes a really fun, natural looking pattern. Okay, now I'm starting with just a really quick wet brushwork, and then I'm dropping the ink in there, not with any water mixed in, so it's really concentrate. And these are Dr. Martin colored inks. So you can see I have a lot of water, and that really allows the ink to move in these puddles of water. I love the way these turned out, and I hope to get a chance to make more of them. So here I use some saran wrap that I press into the wet paint. This should leave a subtle texture if your paint is wet enough. If you're interested, I have a video about how to use this with acrylic paint and make your paintings look like ice. You can watch that if you're interested. And later you'll see me use bubble wrap, which makes a really cool pattern that you can later enhance with the drawings. So I let all my paintings dry and I put them under books for a couple of days to get them nice and flat. I'm using acrylic paint markers from Hippie Crafter. And in a previous video, I show you how I test all the colors on watercolor backgrounds and ink and acrylic. So I've had a lot of fun making these paintings. Like I said, I hope to keep going on this series, and I hope you enjoy watching what I come up with for each one. there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching these evolve from paintings to finished works. And if you like this video, there's another one where I do the same thing and I'm reviewing the Hippie Crafter supplies that I'm using. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching.